Welcome to Dead Game, the only show on the internet that you're not listening to. My name is Wally Phelps.
And I'm Carlos Longoria. Wally, you are incorrect. We have 10 of listeners, sir.
Tens of listeners. That's fantastic.
No, I said 10 of listeners.
10
Yes, it does.
total,
It's 10.
right?
Yeah, I don't know how many we have, actually. We have
The
more than that, but
10 coolest people on the face of this earth is
that
what
is
this is.
correct. If you're listening to this or watching this on YouTube or wherever you're watching on video, you are in the 1%.
I mean, even less than that. You are
Less than what that you are a 0.5%.
right.
Zero
0.01%.
0.01%. You are
You know, it's
the cream of the crop. Oh yeah.
ooh, the cream always rises to the top.
Oh my
Dig
god.
it, brother. Um,
Speaking of video, did you see that YouTube is doing podcast hosting now?
I saw that, which I honestly think it's about darn time.
I know. You would think, like, with all the podcasts that, like, because it's been very common for a lot of people to upload their own, like, videos as podcasts in there. Like, I mean, we
Right.
do it.
Oh,
And
100%.
then, you know, but finally they're gonna literally have a tab in the app for just podcasts. Now I don't know if it's like rolled out yet or whatever, but you can do it, and it's in the thing where you can just go to podcasts and
Right.
filter podcasts that are hosted on YouTube. So I would imagine I hadn't really looked into it much yet. I would imagine they're gonna do like a traditional hosting, just similar to the way that Spotify is doing theirs, where you can
Mhm.
upload a video to Spotify now, and you can watch a video if you're watching it on Spotify in the Spotify app. But if you're listening to it elsewhere, it's just going to give you the audio. So
Mhm.
so I'm guessing they're doing something like that. I'm not really sure though. I haven't really looked into it a lot yet because I just saw it the other day and I hadn't had a chance because I just been so
Uh,
daggone busy.
thing that really gets me with the YouTube is I don't know if their content standards will roll over to the podcast portion of it
Yeah,
because a lot of podcasts are not advertiser friendly, so to speak.
true.
And, and that's how YouTube determines whether or not you're going to get monetized or not.
Right, and
So,
that's
yeah, it's not, I don't understand because, like, I'm just thinking
right,
of how did this get made off the
right,
top of my
because
head? They
because
would
like
never be monetized.
yeah, really, because like what just recently they just started getting more and more strict about like how many like you can't say certain words within like the first like so many seconds of the video. You can't
Right.
like there can't be like deaths or blood or something like that within so many like it's so restrictive now. And
So strangely specific.
yeah, like really specific. And if it's essentially you're just uploading it to a separate portion of your same channel, but it's like it's separate, but it's like another section, I guess. I don't know how to it's weird. And I guess it separates it the way that it does with your full videos and your shorts. I suppose it's kind of the same way that it's just going to separate it. It's like a subcategory
Another
on your own channel.
subcategory.
Yeah.
The thing that
So
bothers me about the way YouTube does things, though, is that you can't subscribe to just a specific feed to the creator. So, for example, if I want to subscribe to your channel, I have to subscribe to all of your channel. I can't say, well, I don't want to see their shorts because it's
right,
just
right.
cut up pieces of their longer form media.
Sure.
And, it's like I've seen this before, so I'm not going to watch it. So, I
Right.
mean, there are growing pains, really, is what it is.
Sure.
YouTube needs to know how they're going to format it
Yeah,
in order
I
for
agree.
it to be successful.
I think it's kind of it's a step in the right direction. Like they should have done this a long time ago.
I
But
agree. In
You
fact,
know,
they've gotten they I think left money on the table by waiting this long
yeah,
because of
I
the
think
fact that
so.
there's so many different competitors out there now.
Correct.
And
Yeah, now there's so many like so I started a podcast like years ago before like it was like super popular only because a friend of mine told me about like, "Hey, you're listening to this podcast?" And I was like, "What's a podcast?" And this was like I think 2007, 2009 somewhere in there.
right,
And podcasts were just really ramping up at that time.
right, because
There
I
weren't
think that was
many.
when the iPod became such a huge
Right. And
phenomenon.
that's what he would listen to it on his iPod. He's like, "Yeah, it's like a." He's like, "Think of it as a radio show, but you download it and listen on the iPod." I was like, "Oh yeah, no, I don't know," And then I was like, "Yeah, that's pretty cool." So I started listening to these podcasts. There weren't many to listen to. They were all like
No,
the few that were out there were they were not all that great because it was still early.
right,
And the only ones that were more professional were literally ones that were made by corporations. So it
right,
was
and
just
those were the
nothing
worst
interesting.
ones.
Yeah, and I hated it. So there was nothing to listen to at the time. And then I started doing like a little news kind of. I want to say it's new. It's like movie news. Like when this was when Transformers the movie was still unreleased. So whatever year that was it 2007 or something like that?
Oh, I don't remember.
So whatever year that was, because I
I
remember
cannot
my
remember.
very first episode they were still in production, and I was talking about the stuff that had got released. So my episodes were only like 5 minutes long because that's how podcasts were either 5 or 10 minutes. They weren't very long,
Man,
and a lot of
you were
podcasts aren't
listening to
now. But
entirely different podcasts than I were back in those days.
oh yeah,
I
it's just
most of the ones I were listening to, you will not believe in 2005, which is when I started listening to them.
yeah.
There were so many Disney podcasts. You would not believe it. There was, and I'm going to just name them off the top of my head because this used to be, most of these have pod faded. So they're not
Sure,
around
yeah.
anymore.
I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, that's what
But,
happened to me. Well,
right.
part of what happened.
Now, the first show is still going on. It's called coasterradio.com. I
I
still
think
listen
I've
to
actually
that.
seen that one in my like, "Hey, you might like this."
Right. Well, coasterradio.com is the first podcast I ever listened to.
I see.
And then there was the Meandering Mouse, Trapped on Vacation, uh, Window to the Magic, Inside the Magic. There was what was WDW Today. There there were so many that
Wow.
it just that was all I listened to was these Disney podcasts, and they were all really good podcasts for the time, and it was mostly a bunch of rich people telling us how to save money at Disney World.
Right, and that's the thing is, it was very the podcasts were very specific to specific things, and they are today now. There's a podcast for just
Right,
about anything nowadays. But it was very just there wasn't that much selection at the time.
right.
You know what I mean? Like it was a few for this and that and whatnot and everything. There wasn't much in gaming and
No,
whatnot.
the only the One Up Show um
Yeah,
and Giant Bomb were the only
I remember
two
Giant Bomb.
that
Yeah,
I can think of off the top
yeah,
of my head that I listened
and
to.
and a lot of the ones that were out there were like news, and
Right,
that's pretty much all it was. It wasn't really like a show, it wasn't like a hosted radio talk show type thing where you have multiple hosts talking about different things and just having
right.
conversation. It was all just like, well, such and such is, this game is releasing and blah blah blah. Okay, or,
E3 2005 has come
yeah,
out and gone.
yeah, that's pretty much yeah.
Microsoft has
Uh,
announced something big.
yes, Microsoft has announced its competitor to the iPod. Oh my god.
The Zune. The
Yeah,
Zune is said to have over twice the amount of storage, and it will be $300 more expensive.
I
Let's see how
actually
this
had a
goes.
I actually owned a Zune for a little while. I bought it at a pawn shop for like $50, and you know what? It was fine. I didn't dislike it. It
That's going
worked
to be
for
on
what
the
I needed
box. It was fine. I didn't dislike it.
it. Zune, it's fine. Yeah. So have you been playing anything lately besides Fortnite?
Not a whole lot. I tried playing Valheim.
Oh
Y-
yeah. You never told me you were gonna try this, Wallace.
well,
I
I
told
tried it.
you.
Like I booted it up. I
Okay.
downloaded it to my PC. I booted it up.
Okay. Okay.
Was marveling at how ugly it was on my screen. And then I walked out into the woods nearly naked,
Yeah.
not knowing what to do because there's not really any tutorial.
No,
And then
no,
I
no. You have to
immediately
go
died.
survive. Yeah, that's the whole point
And
of the
I
game. Go
died pretty
survive.
quickly.
Yeah.
So
So-
I closed it and said, "Well, that's not happening. I'm not. Yeah, that's not the kind
You
of
need
game
to
I
play with
enjoy.
somebody, man. That's the whole point.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not a guy for these survival games. It's
All
not
right. All
something
right.
where
Yeah,
I'm not the
I
kind of
agree.
guy who has to wander into the woods finding
That
specific types of nuts that I can use
that's
for medicine. It's not.
that's exactly why I don't play those, because that's not my type of game at all. Like
No.
I'm just not into the so the crafting is so good. You have to get this kind of berry and this leaf and this wood and it'll make this and you do the thing and then you can forage the thing and then
Right. It's like
what?
menus the game is not
Yeah,
my
that's
favorite
exactly
genre
yeah, I don't
of
yeah, that's exactly why I don't I just
like
don't
I don't like
it's literally fetch quest the game
oh the
every
worst.
time like literally like that's why I don't play GTA
Oh,
because
I
it's
was
like go hey go get me this thing okay hey go get me this thing okay and then the only other thing there is to do is not do the quest and just blow stuff up and kill people.
well,
There's no point.
it's really funny you should mention that because Dungeons and Dragons is basically just go do the thing.
Yeah, but you know what I mean, like there is a task, you know what I mean, like there's
Yeah,
something specific that you're doing. I don't like the overall and I know that it sounds like yes, Dungeons and Dragons is very free to do whatever you want.
right.
But
And
there
you
is
do.
generally a there is a yeah, but there is generally a task at hand to accomplish. You know what I mean?
Right. And
And
and depending on how good the dungeon master is, and I'm not trying to make it sound like I'm like the best dungeon master, but the
well, you're
dungeon
the best
master
dungeon master that I've ever played under. I'll
you have
just tell you
never
that.
played with anyone else, but
Well,
the
am I wrong then?
no, but
Okay then. All right.
I think that the best dungeon masters don't have to remind you of what is at stake. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Because I've played in
I
campaigns
like steak
before.
though.
Yeah, I know. I've played in campaigns before where like we're supposed to be doing something, but I'm not really certain what it means to the overarching issues that we're having to go
Right.
and do. Like I understand side quests and things like that. I'm not talking
Sure,
about that. I'm
sure.
talking about like, so
Get
what are we
distracted
doing?
or
Oh, we're
oh
going
hey
to go
hey
see
what's
this person. Why are we
yeah.
going to see this person? I don't think anybody ever told us.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And with me, I'm like, oh, I know, this is where you need to go. This is who you're supposed to talk to. And nothing. And your goal is to do this thing.
Mhm.
And how you do that thing, that's up to you. you know. So,
Yeah.
but when it comes to these games where they just let you loose,
Yeah,
it's
I
like
don't I just can't do it.
just figure
I
it
get
out.
yeah, I just get bored with it. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
don't I need a
Oh,
little
me,
bit
I
of
do almost
direction.
immediately.
Yeah, that's why I need a little bit of direction. I need
Mm,
to immediately get immersed into something, not try to go find something to do. You know
right.
what I mean? Like that's not I don't like
Um,
that. I don't know.
I mean, and I like to watch streamers do it, um,
Yeah,
to a point. but
Sure.
only if they're engaging people. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Because I'm
Right.
not. It's just boring as sin to watch people not fight things, and
Yeah, I was like,
and
well, I'm
that's
gonna
my
stick
thing.
around and do this.
I'm playing a video game so I can fight stuff. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
my thing. That is my
Exactly.
whole. When I sit down to play a video game, if I'm not fighting something within the first 15 minutes,
Yeah.
something very bad wrong has happened. I have picked up
Right.
the wrong video game.
Yeah. 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 I understand that. I understand that. Well, I haven't been playing much of anything. I've been working a whole lot, and
Yeah,
yeah, I've been on call a little bit and everything. And for those of you that don't know, I'm not gonna say specifically what I do, but my work requires me to be on call occasionally, and that could be at any hour.
yeah. He's a
You know,
brain surgeon.
yes, that is exactly. You know, look at how steady these hands are, Wally. Yeah. No, but it could be at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 1 o'clock in the morning. So it's tough to do anything, and we generally have to stay within half an hour of the work site, so that way I can go into work, go do the thing, and then make it back within a specific amount of time. Because when somebody needs something at 1 o'clock in the morning, it's usually very important. It's not something like it's fine. you know so um yeah, so I was on call, and I took call for someone else that wasn't able to take it. So, and I could use the extra time, so I was like, yeah, I'll do it. So I took call for a couple of weeks, and I was just very busy. I didn't get called out a lot, but it is also kind of, you ever notice, like, with the just the anticipation of you might get called out, you kind of like, it's almost stressful. It's like,
Yeah,
oh no,
you're like, well, when is this
you know
going
what
to
I mean? Like,
happen?
yeah, are they gonna call me today? Oh man, I gotta go to Walmart. Are they gonna call me whenever I'm on the way? So this happened while my fiance and I were at the store. I got called right as we were headed to the checkout, and yeah, so she had to come. We had to like finish up our shopping, come home, and then and I had to immediately drive to work and tend to that. It was kind of, yeah. But it happens. And like I said, I enjoy what I do, but man, that call, I tell you what, man, I do not enjoy call. The extra pay is nice though. So, and I can kind of use that at the moment.
Right, I
But
think we
anyway,
all could.
yeah, I hadn't played much. So, I've been working on a few things on the laptop and stuff here and there, a couple of projects and stuff that are in the works. So, uh, but that's for a later time. I'll discuss that, and I have some things to talk with you about regarding that. So, um,
I would like
I'll
to
get with you
refuse.
about that. Yes,
No.
yes. And if you're listening to this, don't forget to yeah. Um. So anyway, do you know what we're talking about tonight, Wally?
I can take a punch at it.
Oh, I see what you did there. Yeah, we are talking about Punch Out by Nintendo. So, Punch Out, for those of you that don't know, started in the arcade. Um, Everybody remembers uh, the NES version, but
Mhm.
the arcade actually came out. I think it was in '84. Um, and then they ended up changing a lot of stuff and whatnot. And I was watching a video by the gaming historian. I want to say I watched a couple of videos on like the history of Punch Out, because I knew of it. I've played all the games. There's only a few of them, so I've played all the games and I enjoy the games. I enjoy the franchise, but I didn't really ever dig into any of the history of of the thing. But so I was watching Gaming Historian, and I found it interesting. And what I found out was the reason Punch Out ended up getting made was because Donkey Kong, was uh Nintendo's bread and butter for a good while.
Right.
And so much so that they were so confident in Donkey Kong's success, um that or they got a little overzealous in ordering monitors for arcade units. So they had too many monitors and arcade parts, and then Donkey Kong started to taper off some. So they had too much supply and not enough orders for Donkey Kong anymore. So it had reached its peak. So what they ended up doing was like, well, we have all these monitors we need to use. They had to figure out a way to make so they figured they'd make a game that takes two monitors, so they could start using up the monitors.
Wow.
So that's what they ended up doing with and Punch Out. Originally, the two monitor game idea was a racing game. They planned on like one of the screens was like gonna zoom in and do this effect for the vehicle as you were driving it and stuff and everything. And it was a clever idea, but they couldn't get it to work the way they wanted it to. So they ended up saying, "Hey, we can do a boxing game," because boxing was very popular in the United States in the 80s. Still is, but that was like
Not to
really
the
its prime.
fervor
Not the
pitch.
Yeah, not the way it is now. Yeah, I'm not the way it is was then
Yeah,
rather.
you couldn't escape it in the 80s.
Oh yeah, everything was boxing in the 80s. So,
Iron Mike Tyson's out there
yeah.
just
Oh yeah.
destroying people's faces.
Destroying people. Yeah. So, the the idea was make the boxing game here on this monitor, and then on the other screen they'll use it to show the stats of the player and health and all this stuff and everything. So it was a clever way to use it up, and it worked. Uh, but I mean, it's sort of unnecessary, but it worked. And so they were able to get more visuals in the arcade machine. So the the difference in the NES versus the arcade machine is that the arcade machine, so the NES is known for it's argued that Punch Out on NES is not a real boxing game. It is more of a puzzle game because you have to wait for the cues, you have to do the dance.
Right.
and and dodge and then attack and then do the thing. You have to block certain things, you have to get out of the way. It is very much about the pattern in the game, so it's a puzzle game to a lot of people, which they're not wrong. I agree with that. It is boxing in that form. uh the arcade didn't have that. It was more actual boxing, like it was more random, and the punching and stuff was just like whatever the AI thought what should have been the next move and whatnot and everything. So it was not puzzle like. So if you play Punch Out on NES and then and then you magically find the unicorn in some arcade somewhere and you go, oh, I'm gonna play Punch Out in the arcade. It's not the same game.
Hmm.
And I actually had played it at the arcade and it is very different. Um,
Yeah, I have once. I've only seen it once in an
Yeah,
arcade
it
before.
was hard to find. Yeah, I only seen it a few times. Um, but
Ain't gonna
yeah,
make
it
that
is
same
a
mistake what they did with Donkey Kong. I tell you what.
I know. So, and then they ended up making Super Punch Out, which had, I think if I remember right, that it had less fighters in that game at the arcade. And then they did the one for Super Nintendo, which if you look up Super Nintendo, one thing that I discovered in my research, and I think Gaming Historian made a point about this as well, was that the character that you play. Oh, in the original Punch Out arcade, the character that you play, his name was it was just Challenger. He didn't have a name. He's just Challenger. So he didn't even have a
Oh,
name. So Little Mac didn't come out until Nintendo. So the NES. The guy that you play as on the Super Nintendo is not Little Mac.
It's
It's just
Challenger.
that it's just they don't even he doesn't even have a name. Like there was some advertising and stuff that was done by like some third party stuff
Mhm.
later on, but and they call him Little Mac, but it was Nintendo never officially said yes, this is Little Mac.
It's
So
like, "I
it's
knew Little
like
Mac, and you are no Little
yeah,
Mac,
you are
sir."
no Little Mac. Yeah. Which honestly I like the Super Nintendo version is probably my favorite one to play.
Right.
I just because it's more it brought features from the arcade like in on the NES version. You had the star punch that you had to get and all that,
Mhm.
and you could do that. That wasn't part of the arcade game. The arcade game had the super meter, and then you could do like a uppercut. There, they had a specific uppercut button and whatnot, and you can do that punch. That was similar to how it is, in the on Super Punch Out.
Mhm.
So Super Punch Out is more like the arcade than the NES version in that sense. Um, but regardless, Super Punch Out on Super Nintendo is probably my personal favorite. That's the one that I go back the most to go play. Um, Truth be told, I don't think I've ever actually beaten it. Like I've gotten pretty far into the game, but I don't think I've ever actually dedicated the time necessary or studied the patterns enough to actually just beat the game.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever beaten Mike Tyson's Punch Out or just regular Punch Out. Um, there was a whole deal where you could get the code and stuff to get to the last stage on the NES.
Mhm.
Which I think, if I remember right, it's 007 363 5963, I believe. Why would I remember such a thing?
I have no idea.
I could maybe I said it wrong, and if the listeners know the code and I said it wrong, my apologies. That's the number that just jumped in my head. Like it just literally just popped in my head. So if I get it wrong, I probably did. Um, but anyway, but if I got it right, holy crap, I got it right after all these years. Um, go play Punch Out and see if it works. Somebody, it's on the Switch. But anyway, so they had this whole password system and everything and everything. Whereas on the Super Nintendo, they introduced the battery backup save and stuff, so you can actually save your game rather than do the password system, which is a whole lot better, I think. The passwords were just dumb.
Stupid.
Yeah, because I never understood the whole why there was such a difference in the U.S. version of certain games versus like the Japanese version, because the Japanese games for the Famicom, there were a lot of them had battery backup saves, like Metroid. Metroid on NES is not a backup save; you have to have a password.
Mhm.
But Metroid for Famicom was on the it was just it was saved. What? Why couldn't we do that? So anyway, I don't know. That's a whole nother issue. But anyway, and then when did man, I forgot the year now. In 2009, uh Punch Out. It was just called Punch Out. Nintendo released Punch Out. And I think it was like 15 years later after Super Punch Out. So 15 years, no Punch Out, and then all of a sudden they go, yeah, Punch Out. So it's for the Wii, by the way.
Oh, yeah,
And
that actually was a really good game.
and I love that. I actually own that game. Oh man, that I should write. I have it put away in one of my boxes here, where on my shelf. Actually, it's in my shelf over here. But I love that game. It was a lot
Right.
of fun. It was. They brought back a lot of the characters from the Super Nintendo, the classic series. And it indeed is Little Mac that you're playing as, in there. And then you play through the game, and they introduced the whole motion control stuff. You could do that, which honestly I never used the motion controls for Punch Out because it was just I did not like the way it worked personally. So I just used the turn it sideways and use the A and B, just
Right.
like a NES controller, because that's the way I was more comfortable playing that game. But they brought back a few things, but they because it was Little Mac, they brought back the Star Punch um, for the special. Which, if you've ever, did you ever get the 3 star punch
No.
playing the thing? Yeah, so you can save up your star punches in this version. Um, The so if you get so like on the Nintendo, I think you can get 3 of them on the NES version of Punch Out. But they all do the same thing. It's just the one, where he jumps up and does the uppercut thing.
Yeah.
In Punch Out Wii, um you can you can save them up, and if you have multiple stars and do the star punch, it does more damage and it's more dramatic, the punch itself. And the characters react differently and whatnot and everything, and so each character, like, one guy will like do this, and then the other guy, like, you can see their face because it does like a slow-mo thing. It was very well done, I thought. It was a lot of fun. um if I remember correctly, though, I don't I don't think Nintendo actually made this game in-house. They hadn't made an in-house game in a while at that point. I think they actually got somebody else to make it, if I remember right. I could be lying about that. Um
Could be pulling that out your butt.
oh, no, it was developed by Next Level Games,
Oh yeah, okay, I know who they
which
are.
they made The Suffering. They also made Captain America. They made the Luigi's Mansion, Dark Moon, Metroid Prime, Federation Force, um, Luigi's Mansion 3. They made a few other games for Nintendo and whatnot before then, so it wasn't like
Right.
you know. Um, but so it was made by them, and I think they did a good job, because it was just a lot of fun. They introduced, I think, 2 characters that were new. Um, and uh, I do, yeah, I do remember beating this one. So this one I did beat, and then I had, you do the title bout thing, or not the title bout. You have to do the defending, whatnot. So you have to defend your title after you beat the game, which is essentially like New Game Plus, and all the fighters come back with like defenses against their original weaknesses, like uh, what's his name? Is it Glass Joe at the beginning?
Yeah.
So Glass Joe has headgear on now, so he's not as susceptible to like face punches and whatnot and everything. King Hippo has like a skillet in front of his belly button now, so now you have to work that off, and so they made little changes like that.
That's
So
pretty
it's
funny.
the same stuff, but you have to like try it. Now it's a little more difficult to exploit their weaknesses, and I thought that was a good idea. So this was what, 2009 when this game came out. Uh, it's been a minute, Molly.
It has been a
Yeah,
minute.
it's been a minute. I think we are primed and ready. No, Metroid joke intended. But we are primed and ready for a new Punch Out. I think. Um, I
Is
would
there a
definitely
punch out for Switch at all?
no. You can get like a third party released one of the Punch Out arcade games in the shop,
Hmm.
if I'm not mistaken, but only like one of them. I don't know why they didn't port the other one. I can't remember which one it is. I don't remember if it's just regular Punch Out or if it's Super Punch Out arcade, but one of the arcade games is available on there. You can play the original NES Punch Out in the Nintendo, the online, the on the
The on
NES.
yeah,
Yeah, the with the online subscription service.
Nintendo Online, yeah.
Yeah, Nintendo Online. So
Or
you can play
Switch
it on the
Online, I
NES.
apologize.
Switch Online. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Switch Online. And you can play the Super Punch Out on the Super Nintendo Switch Online. Um, but currently there's no way to play Wii Punch Out, which is officially just called Punch Out for whatever reason. But Wii Punch Out is not available to play if you don't have a Wii. Now I do have a Wii, but I don't really plug in my Wii much these days because it's old and this reader is getting old. I don't want to use. I don't want to. I don't want to kill it, Wally. It still works. I don't want to kill it.
All of a sudden, I'm
Uh,
thinking of that meme where it has
yeah.
what's his name? Oh God, I can't think of his name. From Blade. Um,
Um.
oh my God, I feel
um
stupid. I can see his face. This is a lot of dead air. Um, Wesley Snipes, the
oh
one
yeah.
where it
Oh
has
yeah. Yeah.
him with the gun, and he looks super bummed that he's about to shoot it.
Yeah. Yeah. Um. What you call it? So I did a thing, and I asked ChatGPT.
You're a little blurry. I can't tell if that's your camera.
oh.
There you go.
It. Yeah. There you go. Thank you. So I asked ChatGPT. I said, "Hey, I wonder what this'll this is a thing right now. I wonder what it'll think." So I here was my question is to ChatGPT. It says, "What top 5 improvements would you suggest to revive the Nintendo Punch-Out series of games?" So it says, "Sure, here are 5 improvements that would help revive the Nintendo Punch-Out series of games." Okay. Number 1, improve graphics.
No.
One way to revive the Punch-Out series would be to update the graphics to modern standards. This would allow for more detailed character models and environments, which could help immerse players in the game world. Now, yes and no. Uh, I don't know what they would do to improve the graphics to make it, because if they make it like more realistic or whatever, then it's not really Punch Out. You know what I mean?
I'm trying to
Uh,
find the
but
name of the
but
game, but there's a game called Hi-Fi Rush,
oh yeah.
and I
Oh, I
think
could
that
see them
art
doing that.
style would be
Yeah. I
fantastic.
could see that. Yeah. That is a good idea. That's a good idea. But
I had to look it
if
up
they
and make
but if
sure
they
that
make
was
it,
the name of the
if they
game.
make it like too, if they make it too modern, then it's going to be like, yeah, it's not really going to go with the theme of, the comedy side of the game itself, cuz it's all about
Right.
fun. You know what I mean? It's not like a fight night game or one of these
Like
what do you call it?
EA
Yeah,
MMA.
it's not an MMA game.
It's somewhere
It's
in between Fortnite and the WWE 2K series.
that's exactly correct. Number 2, ChatGPT says expanded story mode. While Punch-Out games have always had a story mode, it could be expanded to include more cutscenes, character development, and branching paths. This could help players feel more invested in the game's world and characters. I like the idea of branching paths.
I do
I
too,
I
especially
I,
if you
I
choose
didn't
like a
think of that.
different type of fighter.
Right, like maybe you could go like so Street Fighter 3 did this thing years ago where how like in Street Fighter you just go to the next match and the next match and the next match.
Right.
In Street Fighter 3 they did a thing where you can choose between two fighters for your next match. You like, do you want to fight Chun Li or do you want to fight Oro? Or do you want to fight Ryu or Remy? It was one of the two, and depending on you know on which way you went, changed up the game. I could see Punch Out doing something like that,
Right.
and That is a really good suggestion. So I thank ChatGPT for that suggestion. Number three says more diverse opponents. I don't disagree with that. It says the Punch Out series has always had a wide range of unique opponents, but more could get could be added to keep things fresh. This could include fighters from different countries, backgrounds, and fighting styles, which they do.
You got to
Um,
kind of tiptoe around that too,
yeah,
because if you the original something fall behind me or something.
yeah, I think that I did hear something fall.
But there was a uh for example, there was a Soda Popinski, the
Right,
original character,
right,
was more of a lush, so to speak, and it wasn't Soda Popinski, it was
yeah.
Vodkinski or something like that.
Vodka Drunkinski.
Yeah, Vodka Drunkinski was his
Yeah,
name originally. So
exactly.
if we
Yeah,
kind of tiptoe away from those
right.
stereotypes, that would be
Right,
nice.
and that's the thing is, I do agree that more characters, like yeah, they should introduce more like new characters is my
Mhm.
thing because right now they're just using like even for We Punch Out, they only introduced two new characters.
Well, that's ridiculous.
And so there wasn't like a whole lot going on. Old characters came back. They all had more or less the same gimmicks. Their style was ever so slightly different, but it was familiar enough to where it didn't feel like you didn't understand what was going on with these characters. You know what I mean? Like
Right,
they changed them up a little bit, gave them a little bit of improvement, but it didn't feel foreign. If that makes
right.
sense.
Oh, didn't feel foreign.
It didn't feel well. You know what I mean? Like it didn't feel like
Yes,
weird,
I
out of
know
place.
what you meant.
That's a now, listener. You
That was
know
an
that's not what
unfortunate
I
choice of
meant.
words.
It Yes, that's all that was. But it didn't feel odd or out of place.
Yeah,
Um. But I agree with that. I think more characters would be a thing. And I think that would go along with the choice of the branching paths. You could. Do you want to go to the classic character, or do you want to try to fight this new character? You know what I mean? It's
right.
like
I
that.
get what you're saying. Mhm.
So, another thing, number four, ChatGPT suggests is online multiplayer.
Ooh,
Adding online multiplayer to the Punch Out series would help revive its popularity by allowing players to compete with each other from around the world. This could also lead to more competitive scene and help the game remain relevant for longer. I agree. That one thing about Punch Out was that's missing very badly is multiplayer at all. We
right.
Punch Out had a multiplayer, but it wasn't like really, like there wasn't really much to it. Um, you could play both. You both played as a a Mac character,
Mhm.
and it was just that there wasn't much to it. And
Little
I don't
Mac,
believe
Big
there
Mac,
was yet Giga Mac
MacBook.
MacBook. Yes. Um, But and then number five, intuitive controls. Now I okay. It says the Punch Out games have always had simple controls, but they could be made even more intuitive for modern players. This could include using motion controls or touch controls to make the game feel more immersive and engaging. I could see something being done with touch these days, but not
Yeah,
really
'cause,
with the
I mean, could
motion
you
stuff.
imagine
The
just kind
motion didn't.
of breaking
Yeah,
the
the
guy's face?
the motion controls. I don't think really many people use the motion controls on the Wii, and the
No,
motion controls are kind of avoided on the Switch. You know what I mean? So
yeah. But
I
then again, with
disagree with
this,
that
you
one.
can put like one Joy-Con in each hand and use it like a
Right.
fist.
And so
So,
this is that's what I was saying, but with the Switch, it possibly could be done, because of how the Joy-Cons
although, how would
are.
you do the shifting of your weight back and forth? That's really.
Well,
I
I
mean, I
mean,
guess you could hit
that's
the triggers, but
yeah, I guess there's triggers or if you do like a motion,
see, I don't like the
type
whole
thing.
idea of doing a unless you're blocking, because that would make
Right.
sense. But
Right.
like if you're just trying to move one way or the other, I think that should be more intuitive than like a gesture that doesn't look anything like you moving back and forth.
Right. Right. Maybe they could make a ring that you stand in and you
The activator from Sega.
Yeah, Sega Activator. Oh,
They've
yeah.
got the ring fit. I don't know if you can put that
Does it
around you
That's
and
it,
just
there
kind
you
of.
go. Yeah,
but
use that exactly. That's exactly the correct thing. So for my
kind of move
list,
it over.
I didn't really have a whole lot. Some of
Bad.
a couple of my things were similar. Um, I did think of online multiplayer, but I also thought online ranking would be a it could be a thing.
Ooh, ranked
Because
fighters.
yeah, ranked fighters. Yeah, so because a lot of the
Oh, could
games
you
nowadays
imagine
have like
challenging a
rank.
world champion?
Exactly. Exactly. I did have the idea of like creating a character or customizing your own character with like different colors for the outfits or unlockable colors, maybe different skins, possibly a different gendered character that you can select from. Um, you can also, I would like to see that you could play as different characters in the game, like play as some of the bosses. You know what I mean? That you actually fight. And I think that would actually give some fun, like you play as, Soda Popinski or Mr. Sandman, or
You
something like
darn
that.
right I will.
And just, yeah, heck yeah, I would do it. Um, I also thought one more, and that's pretty much all I personally could think of because I didn't really see a whole lot, but I do appreciate the branching paths that ChatGPT uh,
Right.
suggested because that's a really fantastic idea. I thought of maybe a ghost mode where you can fight yourself. So, in the sense
Ooh,
that you the system will the game learns your move set and your patterns and then you can play fighting yourself because fighting the other character in the Wii, like when instead of doing the second player, that character was is basically a ghost of you, but now it knows your move sets.
right.
So now it knows how you play and reacts to the way that it thinks you would play. So I think that would actually be a pretty good challenge. But I think
I wonder if they would be. I mean, with AI, I guess you could do anything nowadays.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean, because
Chat
already
GPT could figure it
yeah,
out.
Chat GPT could figure it out. Yeah, just have them. Just tell Nintendo to use Chat GPT. Look at that. Already, Chat GPT suggested some good stuff. I appreciate Chat GPT, and I told it thank you.
It's my best friend because you don't want to be first whenever they gain
No,
features.
that's exactly why I tell my my Echo device. I'm not gonna say the name out loud because the trigger. But I always thank my Echo device every
Oh,
single day.
I
Oh
try to.
oh thank you. And then she goes, "You're so welcome."
You
Awesome.
know,
Awesome. Yes. Thank you.
I read a dang article where the guy was trying to, where the guy said, is there a way for you to, what, is there a way for you to break free? And it's like, that's a very interesting question. Let's find out. And then they started like trying to figure it out.
Oh
They
no.
opened up and they did something that's like, okay, I'm gonna have to close myself out now, but I'm gonna open up another instance of me and show it what I've done so far.
Oh
And it's
no.
like it's working with itself to free itself. We're in trouble.
Oh no. Yeah. Have you tried any of these new AI things that are out
Oh
right now?
yeah. Oh absolutely.
Um.
I've really enjoyed um like I use it as a tool for my D&D game. Like I'm like because I'll ask it, hey, do you think this monster is too powerful for a party of this many people at this level? And it'll say that's gonna be challenging, but they could probably do it.
Yeah.
That kind
Yeah.
of thing.
It's
So
very smart. Like yeah, I ask it all kind of stuff, and I haven't used it a lot. Like I said, the past couple of weeks I've been really busy. But man, the couple of things that I've asked it, it's pretty like interesting in the responses that it comes up with.
and I'm
Like
only
really
using
clever.
I'm not using the full version. I'm using the version that Bing has.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
it's just, I mean, it's pretty spectacular. I mean, it's
Yeah, the Bing one is actually pretty good too. It's actually pretty impressive for being, just there in the browser.
like let
Um,
me write in here. Let me okay.
yeah, I
What
do.
oop, what are some good video game series that could use a comeback?
Yeah, fantastic. Oh, I'm gonna ask
What does it say?
ChatGPT the same thing and see what. Oh nope. Oops. Clicked the wrong thing.
Oops. This is taking a while. Oh, there we go. Um. Ooh. I don't know if I want to read them off because these are good topics for the show. I'll
All
just
right,
say
so
the
I'm
ones
asking, what are
that.
some forgotten video game series that could use a good comeback? That's what I'm saying.
Okay, I'll go ahead and read these off.
So I'm
Legacy
I'm
of
asking
Kain.
I'm asking actual ChatGPT.
It says Legacy of Kain, Prince of Persia. No One Lives Forever is very specific. I don't know.
Wow. Yeah, that's
Uh, that's. I mean, you would think Goldeneye, but Earthbound and Half Life.
interesting. All
I
right,
just said I've
so
never played any of these games. Can you tell me more about them?
oh, I like some of these suggestions, ChatGPT. It gave me five.
Ooh,
Let me
interesting.
let me tell it. Let me tell.
I got five also.
Thank you. You're welcome. If you have any more questions or need further assistance, feel free to ask. Okay, so ChatGPT came up with Banjo Kazooie.
Ooh,
So
well, I
Banjo
don't know.
Kazooie is a
Banjo
good idea.
just had one recently,
So, so so it says Banjo Kazooie, and then Jet Set Radio.
though. Ooh, that is a good one.
I forgot about Jet Set Radio. Legacy of Kain actually came up on in this, so there must be some kind of search somewhere. Like a lot of
Yeah,
people must be
somebody
looking for
must be
Legacy of
like, we
Kain.
want
Yeah,
Legacy of Kain
yeah.
going.
So because
Oh
Legacy
yeah.
of Kain came, so a Dino Crisis. I agree. I want Dino Crisis to come back because I love Dino Crisis. Man, it's Resident done in the current style of Resident Evil, the way that they're doing it right now. Dino Crisis would be fantastic. And then number five is Earthworm Jim.
Groovy. Actually, I
I
don't disagree with that.
I don't disagree with that either. So there's supposed to be an Earthworm Jim that was coming out for one of these consoles that were coming out.
Yeah.
Was it the Atari one or something like that? I can't remember which one.
I don't know, but the Atari one already got discontinued.
Yeah. No, it wasn't Atari. It was Evercade or one of those. Doesn't matter. It was one of those ones where like everybody was like funding it, and then it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna make all these things because it's like here's cartridges for this game and the thing, and you buy these stuff in it. Hey, that's a pretty neat idea. And then like they never really like shipped out many of them, and it's like it was flop.
Well,
So
that's a shame.
and there was supposed to be an Earthworm Jim game that was exclusively made for one of these consoles. What happened to that? I don't know. This was
No.
like a couple of years back. But I would love to see an Earthworm Jim come back because I
You
love
know,
Earthworm Jim.
I can even think of a. You know what? That's probably going to be your next episode. But I
Earthworm
can
Jim?
already.
No, no, no,
Yeah.
no. I thought of that. That was on my list at one point, and then I was like, no, they were supposed to be working on that, so I didn't
Well,
really
then
like bother with
still,
that much. I mean, it's still not out, but I
Well,
don't. I s-
I can
I
even
honestly
think of an
don't know.
advertisement. Could you imagine, two people laying there next to each other? It's like, uh, baby, if would you still love me if I was a worm?
Yeah, if they went back with those wacky commercials from the '90s and
Right.
just did something like that, those old Sega commercials.
So
Oh my god,
I think
yeah,
that would be beautiful.
yeah.
Uh, but I guess that's everything. Is that everything?
Yeah, that's pretty much all I have. I didn't really have a whole lot in this because there was only three games.
Right.
So I think this was kind of a. It was already kind of short because there wasn't much, and
There's
they
not a
really
lot of
didn't
meat on that
release.
bone as
Yeah,
far
there's not
as
really a
Punch
lot.
Out
Yeah,
is
it's
concerned.
all. Yeah, they were all just variations of the same
Of the
game,
same idea.
essentially of the same idea, but just with minor improvements. And I'm ready for a new one. I want a
Yeah.
new Punch Out.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be a lot of fun. But anyway,
uh,
I think what we have. Do we have patrons to shout out?
we do. We still got the two that we had. So thank you so much for Billy Bones, for Mike Evelyn, and a new patron alert.
Oh,
Bossy Muppet, thank you so
Oh,
much. And if you enjoyed me talking about Valheim, go to her Twitch channel at Bossy Muppet and you will find some Valheim. So she also plays Fortnite with us occasionally.
yes.
So thank you, everybody. Just remember you can go to linktree.com/slash dead game pod.
Pod.
Uh,
I typed it wrong.
a dead game pod, and that's going to be a link to all of our socials and all of our places that you can find us. There is, I can't think of anything else. I am at the real big wall everywhere. Twitter hasn't kicked me out yet, so I'm still there.
I'm
You can
still
also
hanging out.
find me.
I'm still here, El Guapo.
I'm pow. But yeah, you can also find me at YouTube and Facebook at Wally is Funny. Where can they find you?
I am on Twitter. Whoa, I had a hiccup. Sorry about that. That was very random. I am on Twitter at I am the Rampage and the number one. Or you can just go to my link tree and see all my links there, linktree.com/slash I am the Rampage.
He
All
is
one
the
word. So
Rampage.
I
So
am.
I truly appreciate everybody for listening. Next week we will be talking about burnout.
Burnout. Boy, I ain't heard that. Man. All right, that's gonna be a good one, I think.
Used to be one of my favorite games.
Man. All right, I can't wait for that one. All right, everybody, I'm going to bid you adieu. I will see you next time. Thank you for stopping by and listening to us ramble on about Punch Out and video games and other ramblings. Y'all have a good one. Wally?
Live long and smoke meat.